In the beginning, I said we're going to do a three-part series on the homeless. This is a special edition of part 3 that will turn into part 4. You're going to meet 2 amazing people. So enough of me. Let's get on with the show. By the way, this is, Cora Lee. And Cora Lee's from Edmonton. So right now we're going to go to Edmonton. I saw it. I thought that was a really good thing to do. I do that. I go online and I research to give me inspiration, right? And give me ideas to make a show. Like there's so much negativity right now because of what's happening. I don't even want to go there, tell you the truth. I don't even watch it anymore. It's very negative. It's not beneficial, right? It's putting people static in their life right now. So, but when you see these stories of adversity, people like you helping others, it helps take their mind off of what's actually happening, right? And that's what I want to do. I want you and I to create a diversion of positiveness, right? Is that a word? Did I just make up a word?
I think you just made one up.
Cool. Yeah, I want to welcome you aboard, Cora Lee. So it's not Cora Leah, it's Cora Lee. Is that correct?
Yeah, Cora Lee.
Okay, that's good. As you can see behind me, I have the faces of the people that help you because some of them have been on the street themselves, right? So
including myself.
You have you?
Yeah, not to the same extent that I see and that I film. But this past summer, I spent time myself in Vancouver in Tent City.
Really?
And that was, I would have to say it was still more sort of a personal choice. Like I was in between places at the time. Wow. But I wanted to really feel what it was like to experience homelessness, I guess. And as crazy as that may sound to a lot of people.
No.
And understand the depths of the despair, right? Unless you actually walk through it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going without and not knowing when the next meal is. And then somebody comes along and actually says, here, that feeling, that they must get. Somebody actually cares.
Well, I grew up in a single family home and it was my mom was a single mom for 5 kids. Okay. And so there wasn't a lot of food for us back then. And I think that might have inspired me as an adult to do the kind of work that I do.
Wow. What did your mom do, like to make ends meet, if you don't mind me asking?
So we, after my dad passed, my mom, at the time, she didn't even have her license, and all she was a stay-at-home mom. And so I think she kind of just got by off whatever pension money she had. And then we did a bit of farming, but the farming was never making us any money, right? So, so we definitely struggled a lot during my childhood. Right. But I remember being in high school and going to play sports on the weekend because I was a multi-sport athlete, and I wouldn't have money to pay for a meal on the weekend with the team. And so I'd be sitting there at the table and just drinking a water while everyone was eating their meals. And then if I was lucky, I would get their leftovers, right? So.
Oh, wow. So let's go a little bit into the future. Okay, so after high school, you're a young adult. What did you do right after high school?
Strictly right after high school, I went to university. And I was at the time thinking I needed to go right back into university, and I wanted to get into like either sports medicine so I got into nutritional sciences. And then shortly after that, I ended up running out of money. And I dropped out of school to start working so I could go back to school. And then I just never went back because I fell into personal training. And I started doing personal training. I've did that for about 10 years on and off. But the real kicker was when I was about 25 years old. I decided I wanted to get into fitness modeling. And I started chasing that dream. And that was the only dream I kind of had at the time, right? As you know, like when you are having a lot of attention for your physical appearance, your exterior, if you will, it kind of can make a person feel, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but it made me feel empty inside. I felt really discontented. I felt really depressed. And despite how good I may have looked, I felt miserable. Like I hated myself. Really? And then that all changed one day because I suffer, or I guess a better way to say it is I experienced bipolar disorder.
Okay.
And I've had bipolar disorder for about 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a manic episode. And usually, like, these manic episodes can kind of derail you. But this one, it was an incredibly enlightening experience. And basically, what I found was it's like it allowed me to kind of like dig deep within myself and discover who I really was and what I wanted to do with my life. And when I had that moment, it was like, wow, like I'm chasing the wrong dream. I'm not going to be a fitness model. I want to be a humanitarian. I want to help change the world. And so from that point on, that was when I was 27 that I had that. And since then, I've been chasing that new dream that I wanted to end world hunger.
That is so cool. That is really good. Bob Geldof come to mind?
Yes, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Okay, he got guys like Michael Jackson and other famous artists. It was I think an '80s thing when I was in radio broadcasting. I remember that, and it was such a good feeling. He put all these artists together, and it was a drive to create food for Africa for the starving. And
Right.
so check into that. Just
Okay.
go into YouTube and then just go, "We Are the World." You'll hear the song, and you'll see all the old artists, and you go, "Who were those guys?" Right? And but you'll see his cause. I don't know who that wouldn't inspire, but no, that's so admirable how you made that change. So what did you do? Just walked on the street and saw your first homeless person, or how did you go about doing it?
It kind of came about in a different way. It's what I did was I kind of went to journaling and kind of trying to map out what my next steps would be. And what I realized was that I'm only one person. So what I need to do, if I want to end world hunger, I have to inspire everyone to get on board with this. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do to have social influence, a voice, and financial leverage? And what I decided was acting, motivational speaking, and writing a book. So that seems like a lot to take on at once, but for me, I was like, woohoo! I was kind of manic still at the time, so I was like, I can do it.
Good for you, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So then what I did was I packed up my 2 suitcases and my 2-year-old son, and I took off for LA to pursue acting initially. So in LA, I've experienced my first bout of homelessness because my housing situation, I won't get into the long story short, but I ended up having to sleep in my car with my 2-year-old son. Mm-hmm. And then that was my first taste of homelessness, I guess, if you will. And thankfully, I was able to network and find someone that could take us in for a bit. But like, it was definitely like the most challenging part about being in LA was finding housing for me and my son. And so that kind of distracted me a bit too from actually getting much gigs and stuff like that. Right. But I could only stay there for 6 months on a visitor visa, and then I had to come back to Canada. And then basically I kind of redirected myself and decided, well, I can't quite do that right now, but how about I get into motivational speaking and work on that craft? And so I started doing that. But then what I realized is there wasn't a lot of calls coming in. Hey, you want to do this speaking gig? So I was like, I'm not the type of person to just wait around for things. So I decided to start my own speakers platform. And that was called 10 Talks. So TEN Talks.
Good.
And basically the premise behind that was having 10 speakers delivering 10-minute stories about their lives. And I, of course, featured myself on the stage as well. And it was really incredible, like just the kind of intimacy in the room and the connection that we felt with each other. And then, of course, COVID comes along and it shuts that right down.
Wow. But you didn't stop. You didn't get in your way, right? Because nobody's going to rescue you, right? You actually learn from your failures and obstacles. There's a doorway that you found, right? How did you do that?
Well, one of my favorite quotes is, it's in our setbacks that we find our greatest strengths. And I'm also a running back. I played running back for Team Canada, right?
What?
So, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Really? This is cool. This is great. Tell your story about that. Sorry to sidetrack you, but that's exciting.
Yeah, it was 2010, and I represented Canada at the first ever Women's World Championship football tournament. And we ended up coming home with silver medals.
Yeah. Good for you. Well, that's cool. Wow, you're a driven person. Yeah, get out of
Very
my
much
way.
so.
I know what I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad I distracted you there. That was cool to hear. Yeah.
My actual side note, my actual last name is Hooker. So I don't know if you figured that one out about me.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, I go by Vidal because if you put Hooker on business cards, some people get the wrong impression.
Yeah. So you've experienced this homelessness. You're in LA, and then you realize, okay, you started this little
10 Talk.
10 talks, yeah, where people actually get to express their own story. That must have inspired other people as well.
Oh, 100%. There was some incredible stories that came out of the mix too. And I had people getting on stage for their very first time and sharing something with the world that no one even knew about them. And it was really a great platform, like a really great platform. And I can't wait to get back on it. I didn't want to take it virtual because I felt like that really takes away from that sense of connection and that real like intimacy, like I said, that you get from being in like right in the same space as that speaker that's sharing their heart and their soul on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I had to push myself way out of my comfort zone because you have to understand with me, when I was younger, I was very shy. I was very introverted.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I started a new high school when I was in grade 10 and I used to hide in the bathrooms because I had no friends at the time.
Okay.
And so it just goes to show now I'm like, I went from hiding in bathrooms to now like taking the stage in front of hundreds of people, right? And not being fazed by it. So,
wow.
And that's because I had this dream in my head. I had this something I was working towards that was bigger than me. So I basically like decided I have to level up here. If I want to ever accomplish this dream, I have to become more than the Coralie I was before, right?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Definitely you're taking the right steps here, following your dreams, and you realize that it's not going to happen tomorrow either, right? You had to adopt the idea of becoming a doctor and having patience, eh? I say that all the time. That's my little joke I made, eh? Isn't that good? You can share that if you want, eh? You can use it, spread the world with joy. Anyways, so you've done that now. When did you come to Canada, like to where you're at now? What brought you to Edmonton?